All right, I have to be very careful about how I do this one. On Sundays, I always try to be religious, if only to be in a state of meditation and consideration about my life and the life of others in a spiritual sense. But a lot of Sundays, I will go in different directions about theology of the different religions of the world. Today I decided to think about the Shroud of Turin because I recently made a really good friend who knows a lot about the Shroud of Turin. And it's my friend Sherrie. I really am crazy about her, and I know she spends a lot of time thinking about the Shroud and its magnitude with regard to understanding spiritual truth. Not just about Christianity, not just about the life of Jesus, but the spiritual world, which is a world that's accessible to all human beings. It does not have an ism name to it. It is the source of our life. I don't like to talk about some of the things I know about because people just won't believe me. People that have psychic premonitions, a lot of times they interpret them. Maybe they interpret them correctly, but you know, we're human beings, we're not experts. We see things, you know, we'll have moments of clarity and we try to apply what we saw, and it's a real good chance what you're seeing, you just don't have enough experience of being in that realm to interpret what you're seeing or feeling or hearing even. Sometimes you have entire understandings as if it's downloaded into your mind. Sometimes it's visual, like our dreams. Have you ever had dreams where you saw faces you know you'd never met with astonishing clarity? Or even when you're awake, maybe just you doze off or you're daydreaming, all of a sudden you'll see something and you're like, what was that? And that's why a lot of people do drug use, is because the chemicals amplify your senses into seeing, you know, the different dimensions of things. The Shroud of Turin is the burial shroud of Jesus. Now, I don't want any debates on this one. I don't want trolls. I'll delete you right off the bat. You say anything disrespectful, you tell me I'm wrong, you're gonna get deleted. I'm sorry. You just are. This isn't a matter that's open for debate. It's not something I'm gonna do, because I know what I know. Alright, basically, you know, there's been all kinds of scientists that have tried to look at this forensically. They'll take parts of the shroud, they'll do all kinds of tests with regard to considering it as an imprint, like a photograph, because it is reminiscent of a negative of a photograph, where what would be the shadows of an image of a person are dark only in a negative. And you only really get a good look at what you're seeing when you do look at the negative of the image if you photograph it. And it's so faint. It's not paint. Didn't mean to rhyme, but it's only what you it's only the particulates and the change of tone are only in the very, very most minuscule top portion of the shroud. If it was done with paint, you would have seeping of liquid staining going all the way through it. Not to mention how amazing the image is. You know, you could, if you want to be practical about it, you gotta just waste a bunch of time debating with people about naysaying. And it's really a waste of time, because it's impossible to recreate, just like it's impossible to recreate the Great Pyramid. The way the Great Pyramid was made, it was made with the same with the same phenomenon as the Shroud of Turin. What the Shroud of Turin is a remnant of an episode that was left on the material world. When the soul moves in a spectacular way, it does it three-dimensionally. It embodies a three-dimensional existence that changes from the physical phenomenon that it's attached to with a living being, and instead attaches itself to the matrix of existence. Where some researchers and scientists are wrong in their deductions about the Shroud of Turin is that energy emanated from the body of Jesus through the cloth. That's where they're wrong. It was coming back in. The reason it looks like a photograph is because it's a snapshot of a phenomenon that came through the cloth back into the body and then transmitted itself. He's wrapped up, but also wrapped up with a smaller piece of material. And that's why he's kind of in a strange position that looks a little bit too symmetrical. That accounts for the positioning. I don't want this to be a long one. I just want to get to the point. It is possible to see anything in the history of the world in a three-dimensional, light-oriented manner. If you concentrate hard enough, you can exist in any period of time and see anything. You have to be really especially talented to do it. But it's basically like the computer, like on Google Earth, where you can just take the mouse and move around the planet and see different things. You look at, Greece from a bird's eye view, or the United States in a matter of seconds by moving three-dimensionally. That's how the spirit world is. You can basically, there will be a time in the future where technology will be able to resonate and access to any period of time based on coordinates, where you, as a light, being of light, can examine what is recorded in a period of time and then perpetuated through time, forwards and backwards, and laterally up and down everything in a three-dimensional way. Now, when you're talking about a super in tune spiritual being like Jesus of Nazareth, that's the reason for the special phenomenon of the shroud, because there was a purpose involved. It's basically like, like in Star Trek, where the transporter beam moves Kirk and Spock down to the planet. That's what happened when Jesus resurrected on the third day. Imagine Star Trek. The body has an energy moment and changes positions physically, and left the shroud still wrapped in the side cloth that was reattached to it by devotees later. And that's why there's the blood remnants, and everything about it is recorded on the cloth, as is with regard to its essence of light, as it would be if it was looked at with the eyes of the soul. And that's why you got the difference in contrast. I'll probably do a few more videos about this, but and don't ask me how I know this. I basically ask a question. I concentrate really hard, and I get answers. That's how the Shroud of Turin was created. There is a phenomenon of three-dimensional matrix that exists on the planet. And our natural energies are basically plugged into that, in both life and death. It's a changing of position. The understanding is always there, but you don't exist the same way. People that have seen ghosts, it happens because of a different level of talent or accessibility of that spiritual energy to the possibilities of the Matrix. And that's why we can't do supernatural things. We're just basically locked into this living, confusing world. But very enlightened people can amplify based on faith and respect and being in tune with the resonance of all the essences of existence.